we are kicking things off with a massive warning from the Center for Strategic and International Studies. The CSIS has dropped a critical brief highlighting a huge vulnerability in our defense industrial base. They are sounding the alarm that energy infrastructure could become a decisive constraint in a major conflict, pointing out exactly where the strain is building up in defense-critical sectors.
Stop using your finger for notes, sketches, and edits. This Jam Jake stylus pen gives your iPad a smoother, more precise writing feel with palm rejection so your hand can rest naturally on the screen. It charges fast, works for hours, and comes with replacement tips. Perfect for school, work, or creative projects. Check the link in the comments to grab it on Amazon.
Next up, we look at the football world with major news impacting Arsenal. Bate Mead has hit a massive milestone, reaching 50 goals for the club, but that celebration comes with a major announcement: the departure of the England forward at the end of the season. We break down what this means for the Gunners' future. Now, we dive into the intense debate surrounding the recent match between West Ham and Arsenal. Experts are fiercely arguing over whether Callum Wilson's late equalizer was a legitimate goal or a controversial VAR decision, with passionate opinions flying about the foul play involving Pablo Felipe and David Raya. Find out what the experts really think. And finally, we check in on the Arsenal loan watch with Sago JR flying as Kafeji reaches her final. We cover the latest movement for players like Fabio Vieira and Jacob Kiwior, and see where Charles Sago JR's stunning form is taking him next. Stay with us for all the updates. A new brief from the Center for Strategic and International Studies, or CSIS, warns that energy infrastructure could become a critical constraint on the United States' ability to scale defense production in a major conflict, despite the nation's overall industrial capacity. The report highlights a significant vulnerability: the uneven distribution of energy demand during a crisis. While CSIS estimates that a full-scale wartime mobilization would require only a small fraction of total U.S. energy consumption, the demand would concentrate heavily in specific regions where defense-critical industries, such as those producing steel, aluminum, titanium, and semiconductors, are clustered. These areas often face tightening electricity, reserve margins, and surging demand from energy-intensive sectors like data centers. Furthermore, natural gas constraints complicate matters, as gas serves as both an industrial fuel and a primary electricity source in these zones. This creates a paradox. The U.S. may possess sufficient total energy, but it may lack the localized infrastructure to deliver it when and where defense production needs it most. The CSIS brief draws a stark historical parallel to World War I and World War II, noting that coordinated federal efforts to manage power plant, siting, and build interconnected grids successfully prevented energy shortages from becoming a bottleneck to wartime output. The study models 3 scenarios, with the most demanding scenario suggesting that roughly 60% of energy demand would be driven by munitions and unmanned systems. Researchers utilize an embodied energy framework to calculate the total energy required to produce the materials, metals, composites, and electronics, embedded in modern weapon systems, revealing how production surges ripple upstream through supply chains and into regional power grids. The core concern is that energy infrastructure has not been systematically aligned with defense priorities. Many industrial nodes vital to national security are not designated as priority energy assets, leaving them vulnerable to grid congestion, fuel disruptions, or permitting delays. The report argues this reflects a broader policy gap, as current strategies often fail to meaningfully integrate defense industrial expansion with energy dominance goals. To mitigate this risk, CSIS recommends a more deliberate alignment of energy and defense policy. Key recommendations include extending critical infrastructure designations to vital industrial facilities, streamlining permitting and financing for energy projects tied to defense production, and integrating energy resilience into supply chain risk assessments. These steps aim to enhance reliability and capacity in critical areas, without requiring a massive expansion of total energy supply. The overarching message is that in a future conflict, the limiting factor may not be industrial capacity or workforce, but the ability to power them. The report concludes that the U.S. must proactively address this disconnect between energy planning and defense strategy before a crisis forces the issue. Arsenal striker Bate Mead is set to depart the club at the end of the current season, a development that has been announced amidst her impressive goal-scoring record. The news comes as Mead is poised to reach a significant milestone, having scored her 50th and 51st WSL goals for Arsenal. Reports indicate that the forward will be leaving the club as the season concludes. Further details regarding the transfer and future plans for Bate Mead are expected to emerge as the season progresses. A heated debate is raging among football experts regarding the controversial decision to disallow West Ham's late equalizer against Arsenal in a crucial Premier League match. The incident, which significantly impacted the title race and relegation battle, centered on whether a foul by West Ham player Pablo Felipe on goalkeeper David Raya warranted a disallowed goal. Arsenal ultimately secured a 1-0 victory, strengthening their lead in the title race by 5 points over City, while West Ham finds itself on the brink of relegation. Experts have offered starkly divided opinions on the VAR intervention. One commentator expressed intense frustration, arguing that if the incident was merely a free kick situation, the protracted 5-minute VAR check was excessive and fundamentally wrong, suggesting the decision was flawed on multiple levels. This expert questioned the nerve of the VAR official to overturn the call, believing that in high-pressure moments, certain actions might have been overlooked. Conversely, other analysts defended the decision, suggesting that the prolonged arm across the goalkeeper and other surrounding actions indicated a clear foul. They detailed the sequence of events, pointing to Pablo's arm impeding Raya's ability to play the ball, even amidst surrounding chaos involving other players. They concluded that despite the high tension, the call was a necessary and correct one, praising the VAR's role in that specific instance. The analysis highlighted the complexity of the situation, noting that while multiple fouls were occurring simultaneously, the decision hinged on the sequence and the clarity of the infraction. The consensus leans towards acknowledging a clear foul by Pablo Felipe, despite the unfortunate timing for West Ham. The incident has reignited broader discussions about corner grappling and consistency in officiating during the Premier League season. Football loan movements and recent match results have provided significant updates across various European leagues. In the Bundesliga, Fabio Vieira enjoyed a successful loan spell at Hamburg, contributing to a 3-2 victory over Freiburg. This win elevated HSV to 11th place, setting up a season finale against Bayer Leverkusen. In Portuguese football, Jacob Killer's move to Porto has been finalized following the Dragões Liga Portugal title win. Meanwhile, Ethan Nwainri was on the bench for Marseille's crucial 1-0 away victory at Le Havre, which propelled them back into European contention. Reiss Nelson also saw limited action, being an unused substitute in Brentford's 3-0 defeat to Manchester City. Focusing on loan players, Charles Sago Jr. demonstrated excellent form, scoring his first goal for Kalmar in a 2-0 Allsvenskan win, following 4 assists in his previous 2 outings. In the English Premier League, Jenna Neiswanger played the full match for Aston Villa in their 2-0 loss to West Ham, though she was ineligible for the upcoming Arsenal fixture. Meanwhile, in the Women's FA Cup, Rosa Kafeji was on the bench for Brighton and Hove Albion during their dramatic 3-2 victory over Liverpool. Other domestic updates included Cecily Wellesley-Smith and Vivienne Leah continuing their productive runs in the Swedish Allsvenskan. The report also noted that Layla Harbert of Everton remains sidelined, and Maddie Earle was absent for Glasgow City's defeat to Hibernian. The landscape remains dynamic, with teams pushing for continental spots.